Hello, my friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family. I hope you guys are doing well today.
Hi, you guys. Hope you're doing fantastic today.
I see some familiar names and faces out there. Hello, Xenopec. Hello, Matilda. Hello, Breakout from the Prison Planet. It's great to have you guys with us. Cobalt Blue.
Hi, Cobalt Blue, Melinda. Xenopec reality is a disillusion. I agree.
Good to see you, Bill. And good to see the Demon Nof.
I like your name. The Demon Noof.
Got mit uns. Good to see you as well. Rodzar, good to see you always.
Oh gosh, I feel powerful today. Like this is gonna be a really, really good one. I'm a little bit dizzy, but I think that might be the Schumann. How are you guys doing with the Schumann? Did anyone else see the Schumann?
Speaking of the Schumann, let us bring it up. And as you can see, it's insane. Look at that. I mean, now we're in a period of getting back to normalcy. But look at that. That's almost a complete whiteout. It was up to 92. Yeah. And, the base frequency is 7.83 hertz. So, yeah, if you guys were feeling a little bit different, if you were, maybe having a little more vivid dreams than usual, well, perhaps that is why.
I think so, and then I think sometimes the after effects catch up with us later because I haven't been like this dizzy in a while, but that Schumann is crazy today.
Ray, good to see you, brother. Good to see you, brother Jason, as well. Emperor Rex, Iamine. It's good to see everybody. Yeah, I mean, just incredible frequency that we're seeing here. So, yeah, I mean, if you're feeling a little different, maybe this is why.
Yeah, and I had some seriously vivid dreams last night too. And haven't we already gotten text from other people that are having vivid dreams?
Yeah, it seems like vivid dreams are one of the things that people are experiencing now. I really do think that everything has changed. I've been able to feel this change going back years ago. It just seems like it keeps ramping up. It's like we're more and more in a dream state as, even when we're fully awake.
I think we're starting to realize that this is the dream.
Exactly. Sorry that you felt bad all day, Power Vapor Supply. But I did want to mention one good thing. So before we had used intention and we were trying to send rain to Australia for the fires. And then immediately when we did that, one of our family members in Australia said it started to rain. Like as soon as we got done with the live show, it started to rain. It wasn't expected. So, realize how powerful we are. And truly, if this is more being asleep when we're awake and vice versa, we just have to recognize the power that we have, and really focus it for positive reasons and benefits.
Yeah, I think focus it, acknowledge it, focus it, direct it, nurture it, and that way we we can do and be who we want to do. And be who we want to be. Yeah.
That's it. If you want to put on a cape and go flying around, in some ways you can. And who knows?
Yeah.
It's like I think we set our own limits most of the time. And I think, obviously a lot of our limits have been set by society, again, by the conditioning. And it's a case on whether or not we're going to accept limiting beliefs.
Well, a lot of it they've done in a very abusive way, very strategically. They've done these things to people, so we are too afraid to break out of certain beliefs. But you know what? That's everything is there for a reason, though. I want people to listen to their emotions, trust their emotions. They're there for a reason. They're like our guideposts. They're there to keep us safe. At the same time, get curious about them. Like, ask yourself, why are you feeling these feelings?
Yeah, exactly. So one of the other things I wanted to bring up is we're seeing so much of this huge triangular UFO captured on video gliding through sky above New York now. I think the triangular ones are ours. That's my, strong opinion. Yeah, anything triangular, pretty much, it's mostly going to be, just our secret space program or Space Force. You're going to probably be seeing commercials for Space Force at some point in time. Don't you want to be part of the Space Force?
Yes, Captain America. Yeah, they're going to have some awesome commercials pretty soon, you guys.
It's coming. It's coming. So, broad daylight sightings. Again, I feel like this is military. If it's triangular. Now, they're saying triangular. Now, it could be the lights, and it is a triangular shape. From looking at this, it looks in these photos almost like unconnected orbs of light. But the triangular shape, it's probably like I've actually seen in person one that was, I'd say, between a football field and 2 football fields across. It was big. And it was only about 300 feet off the ground, and it had lights along the periphery there, just like that. And it didn't feel ET to me. It felt like it was completely our stuff.
Yeah, I do believe like most of it is our stuff. ET, well, it's all sort of relative, and we are getting disclosure, and it's just coming out so slow, like the frog in boiling water. And I really like these shows because we get to do little updates on the disclosure and sort of kind of keep track in a way.
Jason says that there was 2 triangles out in his area last week. One near Wilmington, Delaware, one near Philly. So, yeah, I mean, I think they're showing it off now. I think there's a lot of our tech that they're just letting us see more and more, part of disclosure and all. Quartz quantum in the house, 2 days till it's 2020. Yes.
Oh, boy.
Most definitely. And one of the other things, because we talked about that success story, let's thank everybody in the EEA family that actually did send intentions and energy to go ahead and to send rain to Australia, because they need it, and they need it right now too.
Definitely. Anything you can give, if you can sit for 5 minutes or even 30 seconds, I think all of this time adds up. It's accumulative, and it will help.
Most definitely. So we covered the Schumann. So Tartaria is just a fascinating subject, and it's one of those things that's been hidden. I think it's been hidden more than most, because when you start going on like boards, and stuff, and you try to find a lot of info, there's not a lot of info there. It's just one of those things in our hidden history, because we have most definitely a hidden history. And one of my good friends and good sources is Russian. And so I was asking her, what do you know about it? And she says, well, Tartaria means literally king of kings or god of gods, because the tar part equals czar. And then czar or zarya means light at sunrise. It can also mean light of light. And ultimately the drift is, our ancestors are children of the gods, so we come from the gods. And so it could be another tie to knowing, it could be tied in. We could tie it into so many different things. Those from who the heavens came, again, the beings, the positive beings, the benevolent beings that came here, as well as, some of the other ones. But obviously we have a mixed lineage going on, and I really do think we're all mutts, mongrels, a mixture of so many different origins, and the origins are the fascinating parts of all this. It really is. It's so fascinating to see how, or try to piece together these things, because there's so much as far as anomalous objects and things that don't fit into the given history. And that's being very obvious now. We talked about glacial ice that was estimated to be 500,000 years old, and then it was estimated to be, with newer dating, maybe 15,000 years old, maybe not even that old. How about our history? I mean, really, why do people trust in things? I think they trust in some things because shifting their paradigm, could make them lose control of their reality and be very, very disconcerting. So they will fight tooth and nail for some things that, maybe even logically don't make any sense at all. And yet, it could be that our entire history is so very different than what we've been told. I mean, just so very different. When you start going into mud flood and all that, it's just mind-blowing.
And they do bring in a certain amount of cognitive dissonance, and they tell us that, don't believe your lion eyes, things like this. And then they set it up to make people who do see things and have seen things, they make them out to be crazy. So all of this is part of a bigger plan to keep them like in stealth mode. And also with the science, it's ridiculous. I don't know why on earth this stuff is not taught in school, like, public school. This is so, so important. Our history, that's who we are. Those are our abilities. It's our pride. It's our knowing. And it's like they've stripped this from us and gave us a false narrative.
Yeah, and this will be a subject that we'll delve back into. I just wanted to start touching on it. Just because of some stuff I was exposed to yesterday, it just really hit my subconscious, and it's just been playing in my subconscious ever since. And I did do research on it many times, and I asked Dave over in the UK, Dave Lewis, to do some research, and he researched for like a week, really focusing on it. And you don't get a lot of stuff, and that's the frustrating part. So, one thing of note is her red hair, right? And you can't tell her eyes, but as far as the color, but a lot are green or blue as far as the eyes. And then automatically it gets me thinking about, RH negative people. So many people RH negative have the same sort of characteristics, either, red hair, green, blue eyes, sometimes blonde. It's just curious, and in case you guys don't know, so Genghis Khan, right, the great Khan ruler and all, one of the things, there was, we don't know really what he even looks like. Automatically, we think Asian, we think very much, like what we would typically think of a Mongol, on the horse, that type of thing. There's no definitive record of what he looked like, but there was a Persian chronicler, Rashid al-Din, who claimed that Genghis had red hair and green eyes. Now, isn't that interesting? Because if we think of Genghis Khan, I mean, again, we usually think as somebody that had typical Mongoloid features, and it might not have been the case at all. Not at all. So, again, with our history, what is the true history? We don't know, and it's been so kept from us. I do think one of the best ways is obviously doing our research externally, but also going within and seeing if we could get insight and inspiration. And it's just fascinating thing. Like, look at these doors here, right? And because there's so many legends of giants again, and we hear of the red-headed giants, and just saying that's probably going to get this video demonetized because they don't like us talking about that. So that tells you there's something there.
Absolutely. And it's an important something there. So the deeper it's buried, probably the more important it is. So we can use that as a measuring device to see what we really should study. So if it's something they try to keep from us, then we definitely want to dig it up and take a look at it, dissect it, split hairs, and talk about it. I just love this stuff.
Most definitely. And so I was looking at Romania and some of the stuff they've discovered in Romania, which just is so anomalous. And, again, there's massive underground, tunnels and structures built that could house a ton of people. And, the question came up too, in like a cycle about 41,000 years ago, a solar cycle where we were having an excursion, and a lot of cosmic rays were coming in, and it took out a lot of the life that was on the planet again. But somehow Homo sapiens made it through this, but the Neanderthals and the Denisovans didn't. So, I mean, was it selective? Were Homo sapiens allowed to go down into the inner earth? Were they actually saved by beings that are already living inside inner earth and said, hey, you guys, we need you to repopulate, get in here. Oh, by the way, we're going to get rid of the Denisovans and Neanderthals. Yeah, it's time to move on. Or was it, was it a beam me up Scotty rapture type event with UFOs in the sky, just selectively, choosing the ones that are going to be the next genetic stock from which to build the next civilization?
I'm going to guess a little bit of both. I'm going to say they have people stationed up above and below to gather people for, reasons of repopulation or adjustments, things of this nature.
Yeah, I mean, it's just fascinating, but why would you build doors that big? How much does that door get away? I mean, those two doors.
Yeah.
Why would you? I mean, is it just grandeur? Is it just all ego? Look at the size of my doors.
Look how big my door is, baby.
I don't know. It's just kind of crazy. Or were there actually beings around in those times? Because if we're looking at Romania too, then we have the same old legends of these giants again, and legends of beings inside the earth, yet again, that are not always human. And some of them, their cries and voicings will draw people into the inner earth, and then they're never seen again. And there's a lot of those legends all throughout Europe as well. How about the fairy folk? Don't sleep on a fairy mound. If you fall asleep there, you might not come back. You might end up in the fairy realm.
It sounds like fun to me. Now I might go find one and just sort of sit there and take a nap.
Exactly. It's just interesting stuff, fascinating. Our Western society is mostly Abrahamic in tradition, so that is the lens with which most people look at things. But that's also, I think, a problem in many cases, because it keeps us in a limited state of mind in so many ways. Here we see these tablets that they've discovered, and originally it was estimated that these things were from around 5500 BC, so about 7,500 years ago or so, which would actually predate the Sumerian cuneiform writings. Since then, some of the mainstream scientists have come out and said, no, they're probably from about 2700, so around maybe 4,500 to 5,000 years ago. See, there's this, they want to keep things in a certain chronology, and they do this also when we're talking about all the Vedic writings, and they always, in the Western scientific realm, they want to date those as much newer than they are, and they want to give the impression that a lot of the biblical stuff is older than it is. But when we get down to it, as far as complete biblical writings, there's nothing that old. It really isn't, and it would boggle people's minds to realize that. And also, we've talked about before the fact that they don't write the vowels in Hebrew, so it's up to interpretation. And can you imagine, what if in English we take out all the vowels, right? From everything that's written? You could rewrite the Declaration of Independence a million ways, could you not?
You could rewrite it a million and one ways. And I think, part of their plan is to create the lens that we see things through. And as long as they have the knowledge to create the lens, we need to just sort of stay aware of that. And unless we're looking at things through the lens of like love and compassion, we should sort of be kind of careful how we are directed.
Yeah, most definitely. It's just things have been so suppressed, it's incredible. Here we have 2,000-year-old ancient technology for metal coatings superior to today's standards. And there's so many of these items. There's so many of these anomalous items out there that it will boggle your mind. I mean, literally boggle your mind. And we've seen metal spheres and strata of rock that they tell us are 2 million years old. Well, what are they doing there? Who was here then? Was it human? Some form of human, or humanoid, I should say. Was it the gods? And of course, I think most of us recognize that the gods, quote unquote, were just beings, and I do believe that there were beings physically here. I think we have both going on. I think we have interdimensional beings that have mastered the laws of physics in this reality to the degree where they can just basically change their vibratory level, because everything is energy. Everything is just energy vibrating at different frequencies. So they could change their vibrations. They could change their frequency at will and shift consciously between dimensions. And this is actually one of the powers that a yogi can have as they go deeper and deeper into the realms of consciousness itself. So it's not a stretch, because if human yogis have done this, and there's been legends and cases of miracles that have been documented, then of course beings that are maybe a couple million years ahead of us on the evolutionary scale would be able to do things like that. It's all just science, and science that hasn't been discovered. Of course, it could look like witchcraft if we're superstitious and living in the past. But in reality, it's all just science. And so many people get terrified of the word of occult, when all that means is that which is hidden, But see, we've been conditioned to be that way. And that's how we can be manipulated into burning witches and going on witch hunts in the first place and doing atrocities that have been done to humans. Okay, those are annoying when they do that. So, that's how we've been manipulated into that time and time again. And if you guys haven't seen this is a mechanism that's 2,000 years old. And I did a video on that before. It's at least 2,000 years old, and it's mechanical. It's kind of like a ship's compass in so many ways. And ancient origins they cover so many cool topics, but they have more advertisements than God. Well, which God, I should say. Well, no, the god of commerce, maybe Mercury, maybe Hermes, I don't know,
right.
But whoever god would be the god of commerce. But so this was discovered in a shipwreck off a Greek island, and there's at least 30 different types of gears in the device. It's just pretty amazing technology compared to what we were supposed to have back in those days. So, again, our history is not what we've been told.
Not at all. Not in any way. There's just too much evidence to sweep it under the carpet, too. And I think with disclosure, more and more evidence is coming up to the top for us to sort of kind of look at and dissect and talk about. This is one of those things where it would be impossible to make without some extremely advanced knowledge of the sky.
Yeah, and Arca Shiloh made a comment about our consciousness changing every 2,000 years. Yeah, and we have the precession of the equinoxes. We go into different signs every 2,000 years. The planets do affect us, and the stars do affect us because, again, they are conscious beings as well. We're a conscious being. Cindy looks pretty conscious to me now. Let me pinch her cheek. Yeah, she's responding. So yeah, she's alive and she's conscious. Same thing with Zeke, and I'll tell you, ever since Shasta, Zeke has changed. This dog is evolving on such a scale that it's blowing my mind. He's just changing. He's like talking to us.
I think we all got upgrades, and Zeke's upgrade is that he's figured out that he can train his humans to do things for him, and he's really, really good at it.
Yeah, he's getting very good at it. Yeah. He was the easiest dog in the world to have, and now he's getting a little bit demanding as time's gone on. And he's, I think he's 7 years old. I picked him up when he was roughly 3 from a shelter about 4 years ago. Beautiful, beautiful soul he has. He's a wonderful pup. And so jumping over here to share with you guys as well. there's this mysterious piece of aluminum, and the question is, does this mysterious piece of aluminum prove UFOs visited Earth 250,000 years ago? And this discovery was made in 73, and it was kept secret at the time. Of course, anything anomalous gets kept secret, or God forbid it gets into the hands of the Smithsonian.
Oh, I know. And those people, they have done what it takes to cover stuff up. And now I've heard whispers that they do have some regrets because they went to extreme things to get rid of a lot of these giant bones. And then they threw them in the bottom of the ocean, and now they can't get them back. So, yeah.
Yeah. So this chunk of metal was found alongside two ancient fossils, and metallic aluminum was not produced by humans until 200 years ago. And so you have historians disputing the claim that the object is of alien origin, and they say it's part from a World War II German fighter plane. Even though it's dated so far back, yet, of course, they want to cover things like this up. And the thing is, too, that it's 90% aluminum. It's made of 12 metals, and it's 90% aluminum. And the Romanian officials say it's 250,000 years old. And the initial results were later confirmed by another lab in Switzerland. And this is the object in question. Now, I don't think it means that it is necessarily made by aliens. I think that that's one of the greatest cover-ups on the planet, is the fact that there are other civilizations that are still here. Mm-hmm. So let's think about this, right? There are still tribes living in the Amazon rainforest that are still hunting with wooden spears. They're still living just like people lived, 5,000-10,000 years ago, maybe even way farther back. They haven't changed at all. And, to them, us flying around, I mean, they might think we're gods flying around the airplane. Oh, there goes the gods again. Yeah. They're up in the sky. What do you think that we seem to be to people like that, like living totally sheltered?
Well, from that perspective, yeah, you would look up and see the iron birds and see magic and wonders of all sorts. At the same time, though, I bet you these people know more about our planet and more about, the human body than we could ever fathom. I think they do, because they've lived off the planet. They have to heal themselves. So they know a lot of things, and it's just such a crying shame that we did come in and do what we did to the Native Americans here. There were so many, and now look, there's so few.
Yeah, and Violet Mellon says the gods must be crazy. Yeah, they look at us like we are a crazy society. Mm-hmm. And our society is crazy, and it doesn't live in harmony with the planet that's living on. Not at all. And what if, there are other civilizations perhaps inside the planet, and perhaps even walking among us, beings from these advanced civilizations that are human, or humanoid. And again, I just keep thinking about the fact that if we went inside, numerous times, say it's every 12,000 years, 13,000 years, everything gets wiped back to square one, basically, for everybody on the surface, including a memory wipe, because we don't know exactly what it would do to us if the magnetosphere was all the way down to 10% and we're being so bombarded. And then you have that magnetic shift. Some believe that we'll lose our memory. And we've talked about us being a species with amnesia before.
Well, I think that's important, where we learn to manage our energy body and make it stronger, and, turn it into that Merkaba to help protect us. Because it does make sense, like if everything is like magnetism and light and maybe even voltage, that a big giant magnet thing would wipe our memory completely clean.
Yeah, so perhaps that's what happened to everybody on the surface. But then if there's others that have gone into the earth, and there's legends all over about Agartha and Shambhala, Shangri-La, all these different inner Earth civilizations. So, I mean, if they've never lost their technology and they've just been moving forward, where do you think we're going to be in 12,000 years technologically? So, if they're just that much ahead of us, 12,000 years ahead of what we have right now, can you imagine how godlike that would look? I mean, it would be mind-blowing.
Well, yeah, just like these other tribes out in the rainforest, we have ways to cloak and maybe even watch them without their knowing. I'm sure that we also are being watched and certain things are cloaked and we have no clue.
Yeah, exactly. So that's, so fascinating to me. And there's all these little clues everywhere. And somebody said we were just hunting dinosaurs about 500 years ago. How do we know it wasn't the case? How do we know that the planet wasn't, maybe that's the original life that was here, and maybe some technologically advanced humanoid beings came here and kind of took them out, or, steered something into place to do it for them, such as, I mean, it would probably not be much of a technological marvel to take an asteroid and just blast it a little bit so it goes on a path that will come and impact the Earth. And we've talked about deflecting asteroids, and perhaps one was deflected in to go ahead and create the conditions to apparently naturally wipe out the dinosaurs. And when maybe it was manipulated the whole time to give mammalian life a chance to dominate the planet.
Speaking of dinosaurs, we ran into something that looked very much like dinosaur egg yesterday, blown apart. That was really cool.
Yeah, and it felt weird too. It had a strange vibe to it. I took some photos of it. I could send them over.
Yeah. So we were, of course, walking out in the desert doing what we do, and Michael spotted this thing, and it was like three pure white pieces of rock, and we went over and we noticed there's this really pretty pink center to it. And then we picked it up and we noticed, well, it's kind of weird. This is kind of round, and if you put it together, it sort of kind of looks like an egg. And we decided to bring it home, and I was carrying it home and I started to get dizzy, which made me think, wow, I wonder if this is like Draco related in any way. But I don't know. I ended up a little bit dizzy today too, so we might have to put the rock outside, but it did carry a really strange frequency to it. Something that my body doesn't really like. So Michael carried it all the way home for me, which was really, really sweet. He's always doing sweet stuff like that. So he's going to try to send it over, and you guys are stuck with me for just a minute, not too long. It's not like he's out of the room and we're going to throw a party or anything. I'll always be really good. But yeah, it's just all so curious, and our hidden history is one of the things that I'm so passionate about because I want to know. And I think because of all of the different alien races that and our lineage, that's going to kind of help us identify our different strengths or our different abilities that we have that we've never been told about. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. It makes sense to me, like, why some of us have stronger abilities than others. I think that's just sort of going to maybe tie into what race we're from.
Okay, so this was going to be a quiz I wanted to give you guys and see who could actually guess what this is. So this isn't the object that we were talking about, but this was something different because I didn't guess what this is. What do you guys think this is? It's curious, and it kind of really surprised me, but there again, have you guys watched, was it Ant and the Wasp? It's like Marvel Comics stuff where they could just change their size of their body. They could get tiny.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and then they could also get bigger too, but they could get so tiny. Again, it's like the old movie that we had way back in the 60s or 70s where they go inside the body.
Miss Susan Donahue, bless your heart. Thank you so much.
So this was a curious object, so I wanted to share that with you guys. And I also wanted to share another thing. So This is Chris. This is one of our dear brothers. We did, as a family, EEA prayed for him. He had some tests done, and thank you guys all for praying for him because the test came back positive. So, and we've experienced that firsthand and personal too. I've shared with you guys before, the power of prayer and the power of intention, meditation, focus, is incredible. And what we can do together is just amazing. And like Cindy herself, one doctor saw something in her ear, and so I did energy work on her for 2 days, and we used our intent. We had the other appointment with another doctor in Vegas, and when he looked, there was nothing there.
Right. There was nothing there. He did have to drain out the what was left of it, because it's like it broke apart. And I did have to have, but as far as there being a tumor, no, that was gone. And it was there at one doctor's appointment. And then when we went to the specialist, it was completely gone. And that's what we do. It's just amazing, our abilities. And now this man he can say, I'm good, you guys, thank you. And that's just beautiful.
So I did want to share both those things with you. And so this is the object that we're talking about. And, this is piecing it back together. It's in 3 pieces. And this is what it looks like on the inside. So it kind of reminded me of an egg with like an inner core. Almost like a geode or something. I don't know, but what do you guys make of this? It definitely had a vibration to it, and as I was holding it in my hand, my chakras were getting hot, I should say, and I was feeling heat coming off of this pinkish center part. So it was curious.
Yeah, the center part you see there, I don't see it on the screen, but it's like a really pretty pink color, like almost like a sunset or a sunrise pink color.
Yeah, right there, right there.
Yeah, and then Michael had to carry it home because I got dizzy, so it makes me wonder what that was. Normally I get dizzy if I'm around, something like Draco reptilian in nature. So I don't, it's just so curious because look how well it fit together. It's like it was perfect, and it does sort of look like an egg-ish type thing.
Yeah, and really have no clue what it is. It just had very interesting energy.
It did. It has, very interesting energy. And wouldn't it be fun if it was a dinosaur egg? It would just be incredible.
Okay, so we have one comment that says Mud Fossil University would call it a white Titan blood cell.
Wow.
Looks like sickle anemia. Interesting. Very interesting stuff.
That is really curious.
Tooth. Okay, yeah. Breakout from the prison plant says, I think it does carry Draco or Arconic. Yeah, there is an energy to it. And that area, too, we were walking there yesterday, and, she started to feel dizzy before I did. But it's an area where I feel like we are not supposed to be. And we both started to feel it pretty overwhelmingly. And I got the impression of something standing in the trail right behind us. Didn't see anything when I turned around, but when I got that impression and turned around, Cindy said, "Did you hear that?" And I said, "No, what?" And she said, "Oh, it was like a rock or something fell over there." So it was really weird.
Yeah, there's like this thing that tends to follow, and it feels like a kind of a dark entity thing, and but it can't get very close. That's the thing. I can't quite pinpoint it. But yeah, it's a really, really weird place out there.
Yeah, not far away, but there's so much going on, as we've talked about in the desert, and obviously being so close to all the military bases. So that was that aluminum object was 33 feet under the ground. Interesting stuff, really unusual. But there's so many anomalous objects, so many of these type of things that we've discovered. And unfortunately, as we had said, most of the time they end up in the hands of the Smithsonian or go missing somewhere. So, 10 great ancient mysteries of Romania. And we're going to look at this in a little bit more detail. A Middle Age Sibiu manuscript describes rocket launch into space, and this is in 1555, guys.
Wow, this is incredible. 1555. Where is this? Why isn't this in our history books? I think because if they put solid evidence in there like this, they would have to stop rewriting history. We might actually move forward if they took this information and put it in our history books, and we would get somewhere in life. Right now, they just keep us so dumbed down. It's horrible.
It is. It is. And this is in real detail. I mean, these type of diagrams of a rocket being there, multi-stage rocket in 1555. Is that not incredible?
Mm-hmm. That is extremely incredible. And it's like, hello, it's like right here. How could anyone say that this is the pinnacle of modern technology when we're just sitting here looking at this?
So the Sibiu manuscript is an astounding ancient manuscript that describes a rocket launch that took place in the city of Sibiu, Romania. This incredible event was witnessed by thousands of people. Not only do we have diagrams, but it worked. It ended up being a complete success. The city of Sibiu is known to many of us because it is the birthplace of Hermann Oberth, considered to be one of the three founding fathers of rocketry and modern astronautics. 1555, rockets into space. Hello, where is our reality really at?
Right. Who is writing these school books? Oh, no, I forgot it. It starts with an R, but I won't say any more than that.
Yeah, I mean, this is incredible, and people saw this. So, okay, let's just shift our paradigm there. And, what if that was the launch of the space age, and that was, 400 years earlier than what we were taught. Mm-hmm. So again, 400 years further into the future, what's it going to look like? And now, does that perhaps explain some of what we're seeing? Maybe, even more of these spacecraft than we realize are our own, if that's the case.
And Ray says, so how long has there been a secret space program? Good question.
Oh, yeah. Well, all this is being leaked to us, and they leak so much stuff out, again, through movies, and so if you guys saw Black Panther, for instance, which came out a couple of years ago, it's about this technologically very advanced society living cloaked in Africa alongside us the whole time, but we don't know that they're there. And yet they have technology which, pretty much anything that you would be ill with, they could get rid of. And, just incredible spaceships and things like that. But it's all just Homo sapiens sapiens. And it's just simply that they are perhaps 400 years ahead of where we are now.
Yeah, just, a little drop in the bucket, minor details.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty fascinating. I don't know if any of you guys had seen this before, but, a rocket launch in 1555.
Yeah, and they do talk about, even in the Bible, how certain things have the light of 1,000 suns, and they sound like...
Oh, that's the Vedic one.
Oh, sorry, that's the Vedic ones, but it's there.
That's in the Mahabharata. And again, that's an actual... historical logging and documenting of a war that went on, and it's the war that started the Kali Yuga, the Dark Age, and it was the war between basically more benevolent beings and the not so benevolent ones. And here you see a unique 2,000-year-old hexagonal shaped bronze matrix, and pretty, most definitely pretty. I like the color green. And it's got extraordinary artistic quality of craftsmanship, and it's 2,000 years old. So this comes from, the time of Christ and all. Now here we see supernatural forces in the Basal Mountains, and they're beautiful and mysterious. And those who dare to walk on the mountain roads have the opportunity to visit the most important cave complex. The caves can be found on territory called Luana's Land. situated near Alunas, Nuka, and Koltai villages. Many rocks and cave walls contain an old writing that has not yet been deciphered. And on the walls are also several enigmatic inscriptions. Some resemble stars and crosses. True meaning is unknown. There's been artifacts discovered, and there are also carvings of unknown beings. According to ancient legend, the Luana kingdom was protected by powerful beings that guarded the gates of the city. They built huge walls that were shining brightly day and night. And this ancient place is truly full of secrets. We see all these type of legends. And when we think of shining, I hear that, I think of shining ones. And those, again, were beings thought to be like godlike beings. Perhaps interdimensional beings. Perhaps, pure energy beings.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God, yeah, it's beautiful. I want to look at that a little bit closer later. There's something really special about that. What do we got here?
These are actual living, growing stones. And that's what they tell us. So this particular museum has a museum natural reserve. And this is in Romania. Romania is really interesting. But these stones are believed to be alive, and they actually grow. And again, so much of our reality apparently is not even close to what we have been taught.
Not even close. So that tells you, when it comes to society and society's rules, how politically correct have they made things so that we are afraid to do anything.
Yep, exactly. And okay, so here, and this is Austrian space and rocket pioneers and Konrad Haas. And so, this gentleman is the gentleman that designed the rockets. And between 1529 and 1569, he wrote a manuscript, basically detailing this and using liquid fuel. And it even has a drawing of a space station as well. Just amazing stuff. Amazing stuff. It just never ends. And here you see rocket launch into space. Talking about the Sibiu launching that took place in 1555. Amazing stuff. It's just fascinating. And they have found new megalithic ruins in Russia that contain the largest blocks of stone ever discovered. And these are undeniable reminders of very advanced ancient civilizations. Also, obviously, how do they move things that are so massive? Like, you can see, there's a photo that gives you, here. There you go. To give you an idea, see the people? How much do you think these weigh? How much do they weigh, and how did people move them?
Well, they don't even go up like an eighth of the way up that stone. So that's pretty amazing right there.
Most definitely. It's just incredible. And in one of these stones is actually a footprint of, it's a real humanoid footprint that is about the size of a human. It's like 6 or 7 foot long. And it's imprinted straight in there. It's very humanoid footprint. And, again, that's a big, huge question mark.
Yeah, pretty big and huge. It's like, how did someone generate that kind of heat on their foot, or was the stone hot, or how did that happen? It's just so strange. There's so many questions.
Yeah, and you guys know, because I hear your comments, it's all about sound, frequency and vibration. Again, as far as moving these things, that's, I think that is what we're realizing. And I'm sure we have the technology. It's just not available to you and I right now.
No, it won't be for quite some time. I think they are leaching it into us, into our society, like really, really slow, but painfully slow. They want to make sure they have complete control over everything before they give us anything new.
Yeah, most definitely. It's pretty interesting stuff. I mean, it's fascinating stuff, and it's all about our hidden history. So we see another very unusual thing about these stones is that they cause the compasses of the researchers to start behaving very strangely. So some events that were happening during the autumn expedition could probably be called mystical. The compasses of the geologists behave very strangely. For some unknown reason, their arrows were deviating from the megaliths. What could this mean? All that was clear was that they came across an inexplicable phenomenon of the negative geomagnetic field. Could this be a remnant of ancient anti-gravity technologies? Very interesting. I wonder if that is the case.
Most likely, a lot of these things are just constantly being hidden from us and held back. But every piece that we uncover is just, one more piece to the puzzle. It's really, really cool to look at this stuff.
Yeah, most definitely. It's fascinating. Look at that. Look at that. Look at the size of that. Look at how precise. And, obviously it's very, very old. And we're taught about like the weathering of rocks and stuff. This looks in such good shape right now. It's pretty amazing. And it starts talking about Baalbek as well. There's so much out there. To me, it's just absolutely overwhelming that, we've had very, very advanced societies on the surface. Perhaps, there is within the planet right now even more advanced societies fully functioning. I mean, with huge megalithic cities perhaps going on. And this is out stolenhistory.org. Anybody that wants to do like research and stuff. And it's just a few of the people in there just talking about how it just seems like things are purged. You can't find a lot on this, unfortunately, and then a lot of stuff I'll have all the links for you guys as always. As soon as you find stuff, then you go back to find it again, and so much of it's gone. But thankfully, a lot of people are really getting interested in this, and it's starting to spread out more and more into the mainstream. So this is about those tablets. So a few scientists suppose they might date to around 5300 BC. And, now the mainstream wants to basically downgrade the age to make it fit the conventional theory again. And it's a different type of writing. But basically they think that it could be concurrent with the Sumerian cuneiform writings. But originally the thoughts were that it's much older.
Yeah, it's most convenient for them to fit it into their storybook instead of rewrite everything because they've screwed everything up.
Yeah, and again, if we only knew for sure the true history of this planet. I wish we knew. But hey, we're uncovering them together. We're moving forward, guys. And let's see where I want to go next here. So, it gets me thinking, because when we talk about the area of Tartaria, we're talking about some of the same area which supposedly the Aryan race came from. And again, things are purposefully twisted, I believe, time and time and time again.
Yeah, absolutely. And well, that's just to keep control.
It is, and to misguide us again too. So it's fascinating because I've done a lot of research into this and into the Dravidians, for instance. Now, the Dravidians are the original people, or thought to be some of the original people in India, and they're mostly in southern India. They're darker skin, and we could actually trace them back to Ethiopia through DNA testing and all. So they originally appear to have been in Ethiopia and then went over into India. And then the whole Aryan migration and the Aryan race theory, which again, they came out from a lot of the same area that we're talking about with Tartaria. And so I'm wondering if these two things are interconnected, and somehow this whole Aryan theory is being done to misguide us in some ways. It's obviously they always try to misguide us and try to pull us away from the truth. And gotta ask why we can't handle the truth. What is the truth?
Well, yeah, I think the thing is that we could handle the truth, but if we knew the truth, we would be so extremely powerful. It's like we would have so many realizations as far as how energy works and how healing works and all of these things. A lot of people would be out a lot of money, and that's why we're not being told the truth. And all roads lead to Rome. It's all about money, and it's really, really sick, but that's something we can overcome as a collective.
Okay, so you just said all roads lead to Rome, which is a great statement. And, one of the things that I was seeing as I was doing research into this is that it seems like the Romans did cover up history as well. They did wipe out a lot of things that could have given us a clearer view as to what was going on with the Tartaria and the Tartarian people. And I truly believe that the Roman Empire never stopped. I think we still have the Roman Empire going on right now. And, I could open up another dozen windows, but the computer will bog down. Kind of showing that, just look at what was the symbol of Rome? What was the symbol? Do you remember?
No.
Okay, well, it's the eagle. It's the same symbol as the U.S., and there's so many things that tie together. We talked about the largest empires recently that the world has ever known, and that empire of the Khans was number 2, and the first empire, as far as controlling land, was the English Empire, the British Empire, on which the sun never set. And then now we're in a period where you wouldn't say America is an empire. Well, at least some wouldn't say. Some people would say that America is an empire. And some people would argue that it's the same British Empire that just morphed. And, use the opportunity of the United States and of the colonists, of all the vast resources out here in North America, to create an even more expansive one. And as I've said, in 2017, the United States had a military presence in 90% of the countries around the globe. So I think, that the powers that be have just simply shifted, and if we're going to trace backwards, we have this American dominance, which really comes out of the British Empire, which really was controlled before by the church, by the Catholic Church. As we know, Constantine the Great, who was the Holy Roman Emperor, created the Catholic Church, out of which all the other churches come. They all just broke off in time, yet still the power structure was there. And then that goes back to the Roman Empire and the Caesars and all. And then I feel like that goes back to Babylonia, Sumeria, and the times when the gods were here ruling directly. And it is believed in Sumerian history and culture that the gods actually were physically there. And we know, as somebody was talking about rituals, Jimbo was talking about the ritual of Osiris, and the pharaoh was a god in the flesh here on earth and ruled as a god, quote unquote. And again, whether that means that these are beings whose bloodlines trace to the inner earth civilization and people that never lost their technology, or whether they trace to the Anunnaki, again, those from whom the heavens came. And so, again, the fallen ones, well, fallen, yeah, because they came out of the sky. They came out of the sky and onto the ground, So thus they have fallen to earth. Either way, we're talking about perhaps the same bloodlines that have been in control. And it was interesting to see how the Romans were destroying relics of the past as they went and conquered as well. So how far back does this go? I think it goes back pretty damn far.
And I think it's fun to go way, way back and dissect it, including and just everything. It's fun. I mean, who wouldn't find this stuff interesting? I guess if you're asleep and you really believe in the mainstream and you don't want to have your education shattered, then yeah, you wouldn't want to look at it, because of fear that you might have to relearn a lot of things. And I think a lot of the children today that are in school and they have a really hard time grasping are simply starseeds that flat out know better. And unfortunately, they're medicating a lot of these children unnecessarily when these kids just, I think at a subconscious level, they know better.
Some really great putting things together comments. Thomas Beasy says Caesar, Czar, Khazars. Very, very good. And there was a comment back farther about Tsar. And again, when we're talking about Tartaria, it's actually Tsar. That's the actual terminology. And as I had said, my very good Russian friend translated as king of the kings, or the land of the king of the kings. Does this mean that this was actually a society that was perhaps either extraterrestrial or advanced inner earth dominated society? And that's why this has to be washed away, because this was actually these beings, again, humanoid, but wanting to keep the true history away from us.
Yeah, they would want to keep the history away from us, because that would enable us to take control of our own destiny, our own lives, our own sovereignty. It's much easier if they sort of kind of write the control book and hold on to everything. Then there's no problems.
Yeah, and we're piecing it together. And as Raven Kiefer says, each time you find a point where humanity awakens, becomes technically able to stand, then there's the reset. Everybody, everything gets destroyed, and boom, buried the tech. And, again, I go back to the Tower of Babel. And, when we really look and dissect it, I don't see how you could say that, that is indicating a benevolent being. And people will twist it. They will twist it because, they don't want to have their mindset blown. But I think that's exactly what we see in that Tower of Babel. We see, look, mankind is united. They are as one. I mean, wouldn't that be the most beautiful thing in the world if we were all united? Isn't that kind of like the dream? But, somehow we can't seem to unite. But if we could unite, would that not be a good thing? And, when we read the text, it's like, come, let us go down there and scatter them. And, why? Let us go down there. Okay, down there. So obviously we could be saying, from the heavens down, perhaps. I mean, people have ventured to say a moon base, motherships orbiting in, around the Earth. And then some would say, no, they're talking dimensionally, to come down from 4D, 5D, different densities. It's about vibration and frequency, but come down and then use their blasters to scatter people. It sounds very Star Wars, does it not?
Well, yeah, but I think it's also very true. When they say come down there and you talk about dimensions, it makes me wonder if they didn't, sort of kind of scramble the timelines more than anything in the dimensions. So it makes us harder to talk to maybe our higher selves, even our lower selves, our beings. And I believe our higher selves are simply the beings that they're in time, before us, and they're helping us get to, there we go. They're helping us get to where we need to be.
Yeah. So, I mean, when we look at the Tower of Babel, Tower of Babel, and in my studies, I mean, this is where it really, like, the deeper I got into studying the Bible, the more I realized that the standard mindset, the fundamentalist mindset, was completely wrong. Because it's just so obvious the deeper you go, and then you start comparing it to other scriptures as well, and we see a lot of things that are very congruous and synchronistic. And so now the whole world had one language, and a common speech. As people moved eastward, they found a plain in Shinar and settled there. And they said to each other, "Come, let us make bricks and bake them thoroughly." And it's so hilarious the way they write this down too. And they used brick instead of stone and tar for mortar. And they said, "Come, let us build ourselves a city with a tower that reaches to the heavens, so we may make a name for ourselves." And this right here, the Hebrew is Shem. And so that's really more of it could be a mistranslation, as there's many mistranslations. "Otherwise, we will be scattered all over the face of the whole earth." So there's the foreshadowing, and it's just so it's kind of funny to see it, But the Lord came down to see the city. Okay, so the Lord came down to see the city. If it's an omniscient God, he doesn't need to come down anywhere. Right. He can know what's going on just knowing. He doesn't need to get down there and see what's happening. So there's a clue. It's not the creator of the universe that we're talking about here. And see the tower that the people were building. And the Lord said, "If as one people speaking the same language they have begun to do this, then nothing they plan to do will be impossible for them. Come, let us go down and confuse their language so they will not understand each other." So the Lord scattered them from there all over the earth, and they stopped building the city. That's why it's called Babel, because the Lord confused the language of the whole world. And from there the Lord scattered them all over the face of the whole earth. So why would the benevolent creator of the universe not want people to be united and working together in harmony? And so that's what you have there as far as a text. And we could look at the King James Version, because you get a lot of people that say, "Oh, well, that's the only version that you should look at." Okay, and the whole earth was of one language and one speech, and it came to pass as they journeyed from the east that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there, and they said to one another, "Go to, let us make brick and burn them thoroughly." And they had brick for stone, and slime they had for mortar. And they said, "Go to, let us build a city and a tower, whose top might reach unto heaven. And let us make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the whole face of the earth." And the Lord came down to see the city and the tower. And again, if it's the creator of the universe, it's omniscient. That's not showing omniscience. That's not showing omnipotence. That's showing a limited being that actually had to go down and take a peek. But it also explains why they heard the sound of the Lord walking in the garden. Would spirit make a sound in the garden? Footsteps? And then also there's times where it talks about the smell of the sacrificial lamb reaching up to the heavens made God hungry. Okay. That's, again, let's put two and two together. That's not the creator of the universe here. This is telling you a different story. And the Lord said, "Behold, the people are one, and they all have one language, and this they begin to do, and now nothing will be restrained from them, which they have imagined to do. Go to, let us go down," plural, let us. "And there confound their language, that they might not understand one another's speech. So the Lord scattered them abroad from thence upon the face of the earth. So they left off to build the city. Therefore the name of it is called Babel, because the Lord did there confound the languages of all the earth. And from thence did the Lord scatter them abroad upon the face of the earth." And, so if we look at that, how does that sound benevolent to anybody? I mean, wouldn't it be beautiful if we could all be as one? Perhaps, it's a little different. Perhaps what we're seeing is that mankind was getting technologically very advanced, and we were building big advanced cities. We were able to reach the heavens. We were able to build, ships and things like that of our own. We're getting there to the point where we could be like the gods and to go off planet, and they could not have that. They couldn't have us becoming a galactic culture, a galactic civilization. They couldn't have us escaping the control. And so, this is obvious if we just look in there deeper.
It is, when something doesn't make sense, it's usually not true. And there was a lot of things written in there that just flat out don't make sense. And when I used to go to church, I would listen to these things and I would think, well, it just doesn't make sense. And somebody would say, oh, just have blind faith. And I'm like, okay. So I did that for a long time, which was really, really silly because it did a lot to my self-esteem, as far as trusting myself and other people. I should have listened to my instincts first, which I've learned to do since. And a lot of this a lot of us need to be unindoctrinated. I know I've unindoctrinated myself through the help of this channel and other channels, and I think it's really good work. And now what do we have here?
So, I mean, again, I've read this before. Now, this is the King James, and in this translation, so we've gotten older portions of Scripture that show that the King James version is not necessarily the most accurate either. So, this is just talking about the divvying up of the nations, and so this happens right after the Tower of Babel. So remember the days of old, consider the years of many generations. Ask thy father, and he will show thee. Thy elders will tell thee. When the Most High divided to the nations their inheritance, when he separated the sons of Adam, he set the bounds of the people according to the number of the children of Israel. And that's a misinterpretation right there. It's actually the sons of the gods. And so for the Lord's portion is his own people. So it's saying that Israel basically belongs to the being that is the Lord of the Bible, but each other one is given to a different son of the gods. And so this is basically restructuring after the Tower of Babel incident. And it's pretty interesting stuff because it's talking about splitting up the countries, and we were scattered, and then we were kept apart on purpose, so we would not have a harmonious society. This is keeping us separate, and that's done on purpose. It's been done on purpose, and this is part of what we find ourselves in, this matrix of sorts. And this is known as the Song of Moses. So so this is actually a much better translation. When the Most High gave nations as their inheritance. Okay, he gave nations as their inheritance. So this is when the powers that be are getting their kingdoms. When kingship is handed down from on high to perhaps certain bloodlines. When the Most High gave the nations as their inheritance, when he separated the human race, he set boundaries for the people according to the number of the children of God, or the sons of God. And so there again, it's talking about that afterwards.
This is the stuff that I really eat up, and you can do it really well too, as far as taking things apart, dissecting them, and putting them side by side and asking the questions. I think this is what frees a lot of minds, and to me, I just find it fun and fascinating to watch you do this stuff.
That's because I went through an insane period where I was studying the Bible so much that I was literally hand copying it so I can memorize it. And that's why, it's one of those things where it's like I know it inside and out. And, you'll get people saying, oh, you should actually read the Bible. It's like, do you know how many times I've read the Bible since I was 11 years old? And also the Nag Hammadi, and also the Dead Sea Scrolls, all the Gnostic texts. And that's why I feel like the fundamentalist vision is one that is a vision of control. That's the mainstream. It really is. It's what they've given us that has all sorts of distortions of the truth in it, because they don't want us to understand the true history. And it's a means of control. It really, really is. Again, they've gotten us to worship the messenger instead of listening to the message. As long as they keep doing that, then we're never going to get it, and we're never going to get together. And, we're going to always be separate. So, we'll still be in that post Tower of Babel world. And Ark of Shiloh had said something else that was interesting. I forgot what it was now. But, it's the ones that lead us, they keep us in a lower vibration. This is, exactly what the plan is. It's keeping us in a lower vibration, which is fear-based, and which is basically always in conflict with each other. That's the big plan. Keep them in conflict with each other. Keep them, arguing their politics, so that the Democrats blame the Republicans blame the Democrats, when really the whole system has to go out the window. That's the thing. The whole system needs to go, because it's the system that they control us by. And so as we go, deeper and deeper, into these origins and trying to discover our origins, there are some major things that we are told that are completely lies, absolute complete lies as to our history. And those are the things they cling to strongly, because they don't want us waking up to this. They don't want us having our own power. They want us all can you imagine if all of us, just said, screw this, and every soldier just threw his weapons down and said, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm going home. I'm just going to go home and take care of my family. And you know what? We're going to get outside of this matrix, and what we're going to do is we're not going to use money anymore. We're not going to bank anymore. I'm going to pull all my money out of the bank, of every investment, get a plot of land with other people, and we're just going to barter and trade and live on our own. Do you want to see how quickly their matrix would collapse?
Yeah, it would be a beautiful thing if, we all pulled together and did something like that. And there's tons of questions out there in the Bible and things to parallel other things with, to sort of kind of bring light to the situation. I don't want to disrespect anybody's belief system, but also at the same time, I would hope that we can all, bring forth the question and maybe get some more answers, because I really love the answers.
Yeah, Susan says, once we're awake, Bloods, Crips, and Patriots might find themselves on the same side. Yeah. Right. Because ultimately, what we're finding ourselves in conflict with, in my opinion, is not completely human. It's definitely not us. It's not Homo sapiens sapiens, or at least it's not those of us that are on the surface. It could be most definitely, as we've alluded to, certain bloodlines that were left in power on the surface that have maintained their power. Now, whether they did this, fulfilling the wishes of their ancestors, whoever those may be, we don't know for sure. Or maybe they're even going against the wishes of their ancestors, the beings that set up, the beings we took to be gods, so to speak. I don't know, it's almost in our DNA, like we were programmed to serve, which is, horrible to say, but it's true. It's almost like it's in there. Think about all our mythologies and our legends, when we look at King Arthur and stuff, and we see so many things. Why do we even want to have a king? Why not, have a different system where everybody's equal, truly equal, we haven't really seen that.
No, we're in a kind of a society where, people think that one person is above, or one person has some kind of authority, instead of just worrying about our own selves and doing what's right by us. We've sort of kind of been fed this thing where there's got to be some sort of authority, or we wouldn't know what to do. It kind of feels like that.
Exactly. And so, the person I was quoting, that's my friend, who comes from Russia and speaks Russian fluently, and she was saying Tartaria, again, that's like the land of the gods, or the god of the gods. But also, what she was alluding to is that, it's in all of our DNA, that we all are of the gods, so to speak, and we have to recognize our own inherent values. And so, think about what we just saw with the Tower of Babel. We're not supposed to be united. That's what the God of the Old Testament doesn't want us being united, and doesn't want us, working together, doesn't want us building an advanced, technologically advanced culture that could actually reach out into the heavens. Very interesting. But then we see in Genesis 1, I mean, the whole thing with the serpent, and okay, so we did bite of the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil, but can't let them bite of immortality. You can't let them realize that they could live maybe 1,000 years under the right circumstances as well. So we got to keep that knowledge from them. We have to keep them so they're constantly incarnating into bodies on a regular interval, so that by the time they're going to gain enough wisdom to understand the bigger picture, they're old and they're dying. If they're lucky enough to live that old, and then they got to come back and do it over again. And so part of our limited lifespan is also part of, I believe, these beings' plan, because I think there's enough legends out there that show that humans did at some point in time live closer to 1,000 years. And I think, there was an article that came out where scientists were saying without modern medicine, we would only live 38 years. And I think that was total BS, complete BS. I think it's part of the control grid that keeps us living only, 70, 80 years on average. A few people live over 100. But I think we all could live that type of life if we didn't have all the toxicities that we see around us now. And, part of the thing is that the changes with the cosmic radiation and everything that's going on, awakening our DNA, is enabling us to heal ourselves quicker. We can manifest anything much faster. We can heal each other quicker just by using intent. And then if you combine in a little knowledge of, what's a beneficial food and what's not, and what herbs to use, things like that, I think we could live much, much longer than we're living. And then we would be able to accrue a lot more knowledge, and we could really structure and build society in a positive direction so much faster if we had a greater lifespan. And that's part of why we find ourselves having GMOs, why we see the sky looking like it's looking, why we see all the toxicity and the poisons all around us. It's all an attempt to keep us from reaching our potential.
Yeah, it is. And it's done very orderly too. It's done so that we really don't notice. Things are put in our society so that we follow certain rules, certain directions, and we don't even, in some cases, don't even know to question, or what to question, or who to question, or why to question. But that's part of having this group, so we all can kind of bounce things off of each other and get different perspectives, so that we can sort of kind of get into the fabric of societal norms, and slowly kind of free other people.
That's what it's all about. I see David Lewis is in the house. Thanks for joining us, brother. We covered a lot of stuff, and it's been really, really good. And it's like when you read Christ's rebuttal of the Pharisees and the Sadducees, he even says that they're not worshiping the same God he is, because he's talking about like source in prime creator, as opposed to, the controlling force of this world. So, and then again, there are people that don't think he ever existed. There are those that think that he was Issa and went east, which, there's a lot of indications to that. Why did the kings of the East come? Who were the kings of the East? There's so much that interties together that we could get into in great depth. But, most definitely, everything has been so twisted and put upside down. Dark is light, light is dark in so many ways. It really, really is. And we need to come together, and we need to recognize how powerful we are, because we are so powerful together. So powerful. And so we'll do a lot more of those group meditations, for healing and all. And if anything happens to YouTube, we are on BitChute and Brightian as well. And like yesterday, we went over 10,000 views on Brightian, and Brightian's just getting started. It's a small venue, but it has complete free speech. And we could actually start to charge for videos over there. And it's a different structure, but we're not charging for videos over there yet either. Still right now we're going by on whatever ad revenue, and then also you guys with your support through Patreon and Ko-Fi. And we'll keep it going. As you guys know, Sassy Susie and I, aka Cindy, are going to be heading out on the road pretty soon. I just have to get a few more ducks in order. And then we'll be out on the road and visiting people and seeing some changes of scenery as well.
Yeah, we're going to get some change in scenery and change in the weather, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited. I'm terrified, but I'm excited. So, there couldn't be a better place to be for me, really.
So there was a comment, free thought domain. All Christians and associated cultures programming is that the serpent of evil is evil, but is it? So, we get to be fearful about these things on purpose. And there's a lot of societies that worship the dragon, worship the serpent, but there again, why do we worship anything in so many ways? Or let your worship just be simply the vibration of love and compassion. I think that Christ and Buddha and Lao Tzu and Confucius and Guru and Nanak, and there's just so many of these beings would agree that these benevolent beings, that if we're living out of compassion and love and really, really, really want to help others, then that's really all that there is. Then we're good. We don't have to worry about dogma. Now, as far as what is the serpent, to me, I think a lot of what the serpent is hidden in plain sight. And I'll give this to Cindy.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things. It's like you need to take everything and turn it upside down or look at it backwards. Like, if doctors, they don't really take care of you anymore. A lot of times you go see a doctor, you'll end up more sick over time. If you go see a lawyer or go to court, to get some justice, it seems like you end up with a whole lot of injustice. So anything that they do tell you, like, this is evil, that's evil, you really need to look at it. What do we got here?
Well, perhaps the serpent lies dormant in most people at the base of the spine. When we look at this is very serpentine, and also is very much the wand of Hermes, Mercury. And so Mercury and Hermes, what's the function? Well, it's the messenger of the gods. And so, what is the messenger of the gods then, really? Well, it's what we're looking at here. So we have the Ida and the Pingala, which are male and female currents that run up through the body. And then you see the serpents right here, and they meet right there at the third eye. When their energies are balanced, and at each intersection is a chakra, which is drawing in life force energy into the body. It's also drawing in spiritual energy. And it's also where there are major nerve ganglia that nourish all the organs, the major organ systems of the body. So when these two are balanced, then what happens is the energy flows up the Sushumna, which is the central channel, and goes up into the third eye, and you have the crown chakra wide open. And then, the staff of Mercury functions, because with our crown chakra open and our third eye open, and there's no flow of energy inhibiting the natural flow of these energies, enlightenment comes.
Miss Judy K, thank you so much. Thank you.
We love you, Judy, and we'll be seeing you when we get to Florida. So we're definitely going to visit and see you, because we do love you. as well as, our whole EEA family out there. But, this is the staff of Hermes. This is why Hermes and Mercury are the messenger. It's the messenger of the gods. And the gods' source, the real source, it connects us to the higher realms. So when this happens, this is when we are basically experiencing samadhi and oneness. And we're able to communicate to really higher beings, source itself.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful thing. I've been going through this thing where I believe it's the awakening, the Kundalini awakening, and sometimes I have these really powerful feelings of a blissful energy, and I can't explain why. I just know it's beautiful, and like nothing can bother me. But also at the same time, you kind of need to be spiritually prepared. Like if you have old traumas that you haven't dealt with, because sometimes this can push up even ancestral issues for you to deal with. Makes you bring all of your demons to light, which is not a bad thing, because in the end you're completely free. You're free to live, and your brain is no longer chained down in your head. You can explore, and it's all very beautiful. Done through energy work too can do this, but it does take some preparation.
It does, but the good news is that it's so much more attainable right now than it's ever been in our lifetimes. It's just everything is progressing much faster. We're able to manifest change much faster. We're able to cleanse ourselves of lower vibrations so much faster. So that's the blessing of this time, but that's also why they're working so hard in this time. And that's why you see what Raven's talking about right there. And many of you guys are talking about, this is all part of their plan, because they don't want this happening, so they're trying to stop that by this. And, many other things as well. There's a lot of things going on right now, but we're waking up. That's the bottom line, is we're waking up. We're understanding the bigger picture. And the power that we have within us is immense. And they understand that.
Yeah, we have some, they're causing problems on the channel. They're slowly censoring it. But we do have some new things up on Patreon, and we're doing different tiers and whatnot. If you guys want to help support in that way, or this way, is beautiful too. We just really want to get the word out. We want to help people wake up. We want to help people be free from, all of this societal stuff that's really keeping us in, some of us in depression, PTSD, and causing a lot of problems. We're trying to help people break out of that.
Most definitely. So guys, I want to thank you for joining us once again. This was a great topic. We'll do more on this, and we'll do more on many other topics as well. I want to thank you guys so much for your support. Thank you, Judy, again. Thank you, Susan. Thank you, everybody, for supporting us in every way. And there's much, much love out here.
Thanks, you guys. God bless, and namaste.
And guys, Lane's 2601 just brought it up again. Please do focus. Take a few moments out to focus on Australia, and send them some rain. Let's see this. Let's see the rain come. Let's see the fires be gone. Many of us think a lot of these things that we see, these quote unquote natural events, well, you know what I mean. So let's focus, and let's stop this negative plan to keep us in the dark, and then to, basically eliminate their troubles. So let's see the rains flow. Let's have Australia blossom and flourish. As always, my friends, God bless and namaste.
God bless and namaste.